And welcome to the next exciting chapter of whatever this is, where we investigate the Fatal tabletop role-playing game. Chapter 7, Occupation. And again, I'm glad there's no artwork here. There's no telling what this could have been, but it's just blank, and it's best left that way. He starts off saying at age 10, most humans begin to learn an occupation. Okay, I don't know what his could possibly have been, but he goes on into talking about social classes, occupations, royal occupations determined randomly. It's actually more or less, it's fairly standard. Serfs, nobles, if you're a slave, then occupation. Roll D1000. Consult the following table for social class. If you're a peasant, then these are your choices. If your question is what is an animal conditioner, I don't know. Will we look it up? Maybe, if I remember. Berserker, barber. Most of these make sense. Animal conditioner. Swineherd, whore. Yes, I suppose it's historically accurate, but whore, laundress, really? Does there need to be a laundress? Hewer? Why could he not have just even a brief couple of words, a brief sentence telling what these are here? But no, he'll go into great detail later. And here's if you're a serf, because peasants are different than serfs. And they are. Serfs worked for a lord. Peasants were different, but anyway, that's another story. But D1000. And the serfs, bowyer, blacksmith, bladesmith, also animal conditioner, acrobats. I don't really know why there was necessary to have these different things. Delouser, druid. I mean, some of these it's kind of interesting. And it goes on: pawn shopman, perfumer, weaponsmith, wainwright, paper maker, because that's obviously going to come in really handy later in your hero's career. There's the noble table. There's the different things. If you're a noble, you might be a mage or a sage or a sheriff or a squire. Here's royalty. And these are all pretty standard. A baroness. There's no... there is duke. Earl. There's no marquis. Of course, it really depends on what country and European or other part of the world setting you're in, so I guess that can be kind of forgiven. And yes, this game has levels, and this all goes by advancement points, so that's really disappointing. And then here's the format, and all these things have each profession or career has all these different things. Everything has an aspect of religion, skills, sociality, temperament, race, gender, magic points, training. So as you can see, when you're an acrobat, you read the acrobat entry and you think, oh, well, I see that I need a physical fitness of 110, a hand-eye coordination of 110. Female acrobats are uncommon. You can have any disposition. You're a serf. Your skills, you get +5 to your aim. Oh, really? Do I have to do all this? Yes, is the answer. You have to do all this. The upside is we now can find out what an animal conditioner is, and it means handler. An animal conditioner is an animal handler, which it puts here and lets us know that's what an animal conditioner is. It's an animal handler. But he didn't call it an animal handler in any of the lists. But he calls it that here. They specialize in either training or subduing either domesticated or wild animals. Daily wages are typically 7 copper pieces. And here's all of the different requirements and bonuses and everything. And the rest of the game, as you've already seen, is pretty much like this. Things are done that don't make any sense. Why did he not put animal handler? Why is all this necessary? So, as you might guess, all of those professions you saw earlier are all treated. And now see this assassin? Here, you get different experience points depending on if it's a memorable murder. If you're level 10, the natural attack roll goes down. And here's a memorable mistake. And, oh yes, here's Baker and Bandit and Barber. And so I'm going to skip ahead because it's really not that interesting to go through. I don't even know how many professions there are, but there's not enough to make it worth it. So we'll skip ahead. Back? Alright, here we go. Weaver and embroider. We'll get down to the W's, because you know that's where all the good stuff is going to be. The occupation specializes in weaving and embroidery. They make the latest craze. Tapestries. Because, yeah, tapestries. Because that's what all the kids are into. Man, I tell you, when I was a kid, tapestries were... No, that was never the thing. At any rate, these can be anything, so... for each successful completion of a woven work or embroidery, a weaver embroiderer acquires 1 advancement point. Male weavers do not exist. I don't believe that was the case. I'm almost certain male weavers existed. Let's see, were there tailors? Maybe they were listed under tailor. Yeah, there's tailors. Female tailors are rare. Okay, so weavers, I guess. Alright, well, we'll give him the... Alright, and as you may have seen, there's wench. This occupation specializes in serving food. Why they didn't just have servant, I don't know. I'm sure they were called wenches, but that was really slang. I'm almost certain they weren't really defined as wenches. I think they were barmaids or scullery maids, or because I don't think like family businesses, like fathers that had their daughters work serving food, I don't think they called their daughters wenches, and I don't think if the wife worked, I don't think the husbands called their wives wenches, but maybe in Byron Hall's world that's how it worked. I don't know. If a wench is a slave, she may perform as a whore to collect money for their master or mistress. Daily wages are typically 5 CP. There's just something about the dry, matter-of-fact way that he presents this stuff that's just mind-blowing. Slave or serf, haggling +5. Advancement points. For each satisfied patron, a wench acquires 1/10 of 1 advancement point. I don't know. I guess that makes sense. It doesn't seem like you should get any less than normal. Everything else seems to give 1 or 5. I don't know why you would give less than that, but that's... I can see it being like minimum wage, but that's for money, but this is your advancement points. It seems like it would be easy to be a better wench. But anyway, the interesting part, of course, is the whore. The female occupation specializes in charging fees for men and relieving them of their coital urges and needs. Whores are also called prostitutes or working girls. I believe they were also called slatterns, but that may have not been in this time frame. Pardon me. All whores gain a bonus of 5 to debauchery. Daily wages for whores vary considerably. Most of the variance is accounted for by the whore's bodily attractiveness, facial charisma, and her skill at massage, seduction, and sexual adeptness. Yes, those are all skills. So, you know you've got something to look forward to because we haven't gotten to the skills section yet. So, keep that in mind. There's a real treat coming up. The majority of whores earn around 4 CP per day, though some earn considerably more, as he's already said once in the same paragraph. Requirements are bodily attractiveness 90, facial charisma 90. Male whores are rare. Gigolos. Male whores. Slave, peasant, or serf. Skills: acting, drama, plus 5, contortion plus 5, haggling plus 5, massage plus 5, seduction plus 10, and sexual adeptness plus 10. And these are all described sometimes in far too much detail. Well, most of the time in far too much detail given F.A.T.A.L's nature. Equipment is none. I'm actually grateful for that. Advancement points for each successfully... Yes, they couldn't just say satisfied customer. For each successfully assisted ejaculation or orgasm, a whore acquires 1/10 of 1 advancement point. So you could either be wiping tables and picking up plates. And so, yes, your choices are make 5 CP a day cleaning off dirty tables, or be a whore and do horrible, unspeakable things with grimy, hairy, smelly, unwashed wildebeest of peasants and make 4 CP a day. Both for 1/10 of 1 advancement point. Again, at no time did the author of F.A.T.A.L go back through any of this and say, perhaps I need to change some of this. At no time did any of his playtesters or people that helped write this, because I've gone over this, and it's said that he had multiple people, which he won't say who helped him with it. At no time did any of these people say, perhaps you should look at this again and maybe change a few things, cut some things out, rethink some sections. None of that ever happened. In the 2 incarnations that this role-playing game quote-unquote enjoyed, and in fact quote-unquote role-playing game, since we're putting quotes around things. At any rate, occupations and communities, random occupation tables. To randomly determine an occupation, roll D1000 and consult the following table. At least we're up to page 232. Well, let's see it. Random occupation table. There is none. Okay. Well put together. I think that was just bad editing. That must have been the table that we already passed. Alright. Different from abilities, skills are options that the character may use. They may only be attempted by those trained in them. Sub-ability of language. Kinetic prerequisite may exist. Learning curve, LC. is a modifier to skill checks. For example, if a character has high strength and spatial sub-abilities, they are likely to be talented at blacksmithing. He really uses the spatial characteristic. I don't know whether to be impressed or truly disturbed. But there is a learning curve. I'm just astounded. Okay, let's continue. Some skills utilize more than one ability, such as blind fighting, using intuition, agility, and reaction speed. Way too much work. Okay. Here's your skill points. If you're an Anakim, you get 1d100 plus 75. If you're a dwarf, you start out with 2d100 plus 100. And so on, as you can see from this chart. And then for each level, because again this is a level-based system, because it's just not complicated and derivative enough already, and because it is a product of the 80s, and apparently, like Byron Hall himself, could not change with the times, as it followed him in his brain throughout his apparent education. You get hundreds and bonuses, and I still don't know why you would I don't know why you would divide this like this. Most of these have D100 rolls, 25, 50. These are 75. There's like 25 points difference between one and the next. It seems like you could just take the average and all characters could get the same. Why are Anakim less skilled than dwarves? And I guess I can see why elves would be more skilled, since they're supposedly more long-lived, but so I can even see giving elves just more skill points than other races. Maybe dwarves more too, if they're supposed to be so long-lived. I guess I can kind of see the skill point thing, but really, what's the point in doing that? It sure would make the game a lot easier to not do that. But that's not good enough. There's 5 points allocated, and here's options and gender and race and character sheets, and the MM will compare this result to a threshold which only the MM knows, and each time you advance in level, and the pages present an overview of the skills. And here they are presented alphabetically. Yes. And here's the skill, and here are sub-abilities. And here are prerequisites, and here is the learning curve. And it mentioned a learning curve, and I'm not going to go look it up. So, acting, drama, intelligence, charisma. Agriculture, as a skill, uses common sense. Aim uses hand-eye coordination and vision. And ambidexterity, anatomy, animal conditioning again. It relies on drive or intuition. And the prerequisite for that is animal handling. Now, interestingly, there is no animal handling, so exactly how are you to get... Okay. This would make gaining this skill difficult, since there is no animal handling skill. Okay. So, here's armor. That's a skill, general type. So there's general armor as a skill, and then there's specific armor as a skill. So there's I can wear armor, and then there's I can wear this specific armor. And then there's armor smithing, and then there's balance, and then there's everyone's favorite, basket weaving. I've seen this in Star Trek and other games too. It's not needed. If a player wants to have basket weaving as an art or a personal player added pursuit, they should be able to pick it. But it does not need to be listed. Do not put basket weaving in your skill list. Stop it. Blind fighting. Book binding. See above. Brass smithing. This is when... This is the 80s. This is the 90s. This is when people thought that everything on the planet needed enumerated and listed, apparently. Cleaning cleaning is a skill, but I don't think it needs catching. Just catching. Catching it. No. Catching does not need. No. Brickmaking. Cobbling, comedy, buffoonery. There are 3 different kinds of comedy. That's not even performance or acting. That's just comedy. Well, speaking of acting, where is acting? There's acting, drama. There's 1 kind of acting, but 3 kinds of comedy. Contortion, cooking, coppersmithing. Cosmos? That doesn't even tell what that is. Is that magic? Is that knowledge of the cosmos? Is that like... Are you Carl Sagan? What? Delousing? Shouldn't that just be like health? Does it really need to be that specific? There's diagnosing. Can you diagnose but not know how to delouse? Can you delouse but not know how to diagnose? Disarm, disguise. I don't think dismemberment is something that really will come up a lot, and I don't think it's something you need. He does, but he no longer has a website or a game or likely any friends, so I don't think that point is relevant anymore. There is a lot of divination, and it electomancy and axionomancy. And you know what the funny thing is, and I might go into it later, I don't know. Some of these are disgusting. Some of these are valid types of oracles of telling the future. Uromancy, if I remember correctly, is urine. Telling the future with urine. It might not be, but some of these. Scatomancy is telling the future with feces. Or scat. Oniromancy. Necromancy, of course. And lunamancy. Why does he need these different ones? Can't you just have divination? Dying. I think all player characters have this skill. They usually get pretty good at it at some point. Enameling. Yes. I remember when I got to 75% in enameling. No, I don't. I never did that. No. Etiquette. Some of these make sense. Some of these are absolutely not necessary. Girdle making. I cannot express my... I wouldn't call it rage, but if I were such a person that had enough emotions to spend a few like change, I would spend some on F.A.T.A.L just to complain about this, because you don't need 5 different kinds of history. Hurl. Impaling. Ink making. Intimidation is fine. Mangling. Notice, however, there is no maiming. Even though there is a maim master, You do not maim. It is not a skill. Milling, mining, minting, milking. Yes, milking. Math. 3 different kinds of math. Logic, besides math. And there very well may have been an algebra, but I'm not going back to look. Nature, 1, 2, 3. Many natures. Paper making. Perry, perfume making. Purse making. Perhaps with a sow's ear? I don't know. Complex ritual. Rope use. Seduction. Sexual adeptness. Sheath making. Silversmithing. Spellcasting. 2 different kinds. Spitting. He has spitting as a skill. Why? Why do you need that? That's not an attack skill. He might have it, but I don't think it is. Soup making. Soap making. Alright. I'll give him credit. Soap making. I was really going to be upset at that. But that is soap making. Still not really something you need, but taste. Taste as a skill. He has outdone himself. Toxicology. Touch. Look at the urinating skill is vitally important. It requires health and hand-eye coordination. I don't think that's... Well, I suppose it involves the hand and the eye and coordination. I think it involves something else, but I guess we should be thankful he doesn't require you to roll for that. Many weapon skills, and there's weaving. Not basket weaving, mind you, because that's in a different place. Wheel riding, wilderness lore, and wrestling. Are you tired yet? I am. Blacksmithing plus 15 for your weaponsmithing, because blacksmithing, of course, needs to be separate than weaponsmithing. Because this is such an important game that needs to divide everything. Let's continue. Yes, now here are all the skills and all the things that they cover, such as acting, drama, convincing others of the sincerity of your actions, not to be confused with trickery or disguise. Oh God, no. What would we ever do if you only had, 5 or 6 skills all dealing with interaction? Some factors and guidelines: emotional state, temperament, imitate another's speech, and here's the threshold: successfully portray 1 factor, 2 factors, 4 factors. And there's agriculture, which of course milking is not part of, because as we all know, milking exists as its own skill, totally devoid and outside of agriculture. Aim, anatomy, and I'm going to go through, and we're going to skip ahead because I'm not going to go through 9 million pages of skill descriptions, so we'll skip ahead a bit. I will stop here just a moment. This is apparently the brawling table, since I'm on the B's, and because you're not allowed to make your own decisions, you just roll. Undoubtedly percentage dice, unless of course it's D1000. No, it's a percentage this time. Foot to stomach, elbow to temple. But the best part of that is down here, where there is a picture of someone punching, who hopefully is Byron Hall, and that pretty much sums up I think most people's feelings. At the very least,